All right, today for Tuesday, April 21st, we are going to reread From Seed to Plant by Gail Gibbons. But day 2, so day 1 we had a lot of new vocabulary, but day 2 we're going to add a few more that we're going to focus on. Stem, flower, fruit, pollen, pollination, nectar, parachute, and scatter. So parents, yesterday I had posted all of the words for all 11 days, so feel free to check that out to get the complete list, but just today are those 8 words. So I want you to think about what we learned about the life cycle of a plant yesterday. And just kind of review and tell someone in your family what you learned about a life cycle of a plant yesterday. And why is the life cycle of a plant so important to humans? So today we're going to read some more information, additional information about, we read it yesterday, but we're going to just focus on the information about the structures of a plant and how they work. So From Seed to Plant by Gail Gibbons. Seeds are different shapes, sizes, and colors. All seeds grow into the same kind of plant that made them. So whatever kind of seed it is, that's the plant that it's always going to grow. So how do plants begin their lives? What do they start as when they begin their life? And why are seeds so important? Many plants grow flowers. Flowers are where most seeds begin. A flower is made up of many parts. So where do most seeds live inside of the plant? Right, they live inside the flower. Before a seed can begin to grow, a grain of pollen from the stamen must land on the stigma at the top of the pistil of a flower like itself. This is called pollination. So, this is called pollination, but this is the stigma. These little tiny yellow orange pieces are the pollen, so the little speckles of pollen. This is the pistil, and then this is the stamen. So where did we learn what these are? So what are these? Right, those are the leaves. So leaves help take in sunshine that flowers need to grow. Why are they so important? They are what feeds the rest of the flower, the plant. What about the stem? How does the stem help the plant? Right, it holds the plant up. It helps it take in water from the soil, and then it takes it to the rest of the plant. And what do we call those yellow-orange speckles? Right, that's pollen. The yellow powder is called pollen. We usually see it all over our cars about now. You can go outside and wipe your finger and you're going to see yellow stuff all over the car, and that's pollen that the wind has blown onto the cars. All right. So all of the parts of a plant work together. Each part has a job that it has to do, and they all work together so that it can grow and feed and become the beautiful plant that it is supposed to be, and then the seeds drop so that it can start life all over again. So how did those text features, those labels, help you understand those words and those parts of the flower? Pollination happens in different ways. Often, wind blows the pollen from flower to flower. But like I just mentioned, it can also blow to your car. Bees, other insects, and hummingbirds help pollinate too. They often, while they visit flowers for their sweet juice called nectar, pollen rubs onto their bodies. Then they carry the pollen to another flower where it comes off onto its pistil. If a pollen grain from a flower lands on the pistil of the same flower, it grows a long tube through the pistil into an ovule. This is the beginning of a seed. So what were all the different ways that plants can be pollinated? The seeds grow inside the flower even as the flower begins to die. As the seed becomes bigger, a fruit or pod grows around them. The fruit or pod protects the seed. So remember when we discussed fruit pods? Why is the fruit or pod so important to the plant structure? Right, it protects the seeds. When the fruit or pod ripens, it breaks open. The seeds are ready to become new plants. Some seeds fall to the ground around the base of the plant where they will grow. So based on what we just read, what happens when a fruit or pod becomes ripe? Some pods or fruits open and the seeds pop out. Sometimes when birds eat berries, they drop the seeds. Other seeds fall into streams, ponds, rivers, or the ocean. There they travel on the water until they stick to dirt along the shore. The wind scatters seeds. Some seeds have fluff on them that lets them float to the ground like a tiny parachute. Others have wings that spin as they fall. Animals help scatter seeds too. They hide acorns and nuts in the ground. Some seeds have hooks that stick to the fur of animals or people's clothes, and later they drop off onto the ground. So explain how nature impacts what happens to seeds after they fall to the ground. So think about all the examples we just read about animals, weather, people. How do the illustrations help us understand all those different ways that seeds can be scattered? A flower bed or vegetable garden is beautiful. Seeds are planted to grow in the gardens. The seeds come in small envelopes or boxes. Directions explain how to plant the seeds and care for the plants. All right, so we are just going to focus on that part of the book today. If you want to hear the ending, you can watch the video from yesterday, but we really want to focus on all the parts of the plants and how they support each other to keep the plant alive, and how those illustrations help us understand all of those different things about the plant. So, let me find our task. So our task for today is task number 2. And task number 2 says a local nature center has asked you to create a sign for their new exhibit on the parts of a plant so that visitors can learn about the plant display. Draw and label a plant's structures, including the stem, leaves, flowers, buds, pods, and pollen. Then write an informative paragraph describing how the plant's structures work together and help it grow. In your paragraph, be sure to name the topic, supply some facts about the topic, a sense of closure, and specific vocabulary from our text. So this is my example, and it came from the book. There are several pictures that you could use to kind of, this is the one that I used to kind of guide and help me. So I tried to draw the pod and then the flower with the fruit. This picture is also another good example to be able to show those tiny little pollen grains. But that's what I did for my picture. I just kind of copied that illustration and labeled everything. So this would be a pod, leaves, stem, and then over here this is the stem, leaves, pollen, that's the flower, and that's the fruit. So make sure and label all of those things: stem, leaves, flowers, buds, pods, and pollen. So I just noticed I did not label buds, so I would need to maybe draw another bud of a flower that hasn't bloomed yet to make sure that I have met all of those requirements. And then my paragraph says, plants have many structures that work together to help it grow. The stem takes water from the soil to the rest of the plant. The leaves help take in sunshine that flowers need to grow. The inside of flowers hold seeds. The fruit or the pod protects the seed until the fruit or the pod ripens and releases the seeds. Pollen is also found inside of a flower. Pollen is needed for a flower to make seeds. That is how the structures of a plant work together to help it grow. So make sure that you complete your illustration with all the labels and your paragraph and use those vocabulary words. If you all have any other questions for today's task, just let me know.